All right, so guys, I want to share this with you. This is my first video, and as you prepare for exams, it's important that you are given some few examination tips that really will go a long way to help you. So I'm sharing some personal experiences and things that I did personally that really helped me to come out with flying colors in the exams that are in the examinations that I have taken part in. It's important you realize that life comes with a lot of challenges, a lot of tests, a lot of examinations. So exams necessarily are not the final destination. It is only a means to an end and not an end in itself. And so it is important as you prepare to go into the exams room that you know these few things that would go a long way to help you. Now we all know that when exams is approaching, there is anxiety, there's right. I have spoken to a lot of students who are afraid and we think and be saying, Sir Raph, I don't know, I'm feeling very anxious about the exams, I'm a bit afraid and all that. So anxiety really catches up with you when you are preparing for exams. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the future, or as it were begin to hover around you, and you begin to contemplate them. And so it is important that you get these few assuring words and take these few tips that will go a long way to help you and ensure that you are able to do well in your examination. Now, the first thing you really must pay particular attention to is dealing with stress. Now, why do I say that? Normally when exams is approaching, you become a bit stressed, a bit tense, a bit pressurized, and you are all over the place. You take this book and it's like, I have not learned this. You go and take social studies, like, I have not learned mathematics. You take maths and it's like, I have not learned English language, and you are all over the place. Now listen, you need to be organized, get a cool head, focus on one at a time. They will take care of themselves. Prepare, have a very relaxed approach, be confident, don't be anxious, and just take your time and take one subject at a time. Now, what that means is that there are a number of things that you have to do that would help you to de-stress and to be able to have a cool head. Now, when you are learning and you realize that it is not sticking, you are not really grasping the concept and you are not getting the understanding, don't stress yourself. Relax. Get that. If you have to take a walk around, take a walk around. If you have to just chit chat here and there, do that. Do that for some few minutes. Then get the mind relaxed before you come back to sit down again and learn. Now, when you are learning and it is not going, and you keep trying, I will try. So really, when you want to de-stress, it is important you engage in some relaxing activity that would help you to relax your mind and your mental focus to be able to get back and steady. When you are stressed and you still want to force yourself and steady, all that you are studying will be course 90. So take time, relax. Around that time, you can do some group discussions, some group some chit-chatting here and there. Take a walk, take a stroll around, and come back and sit down. If you have to listen to some cool music, do that. Relax the mind before you sit down again to learn. That's one thing that you have to know. Again, it is important that around this time when you are preparing for exams, don't live a solo life. What that means is that connect with your friends, link up, get to know what is happening there, get to know what is happening here, share ideas, compare notes, so that you know whether you are indeed up to task or you are ready for the exams or not. It is important that you don't live a solo life, live like you are living on an island alone, preparing and thinking that all that you are doing is enough. Around this time, you need networking, connecting with people, getting to know people, sharing with them, finding out exactly what is happening with them, comparing notes, comparing questions, and finding out exactly if indeed you are ready for the task ahead. That's another thing that you don't need to lose sight of. Again, it is important around this time that you have a good sleep. Now, because you're going to learn for very long hours, when it is time for sleep, don't be disturbed. Sleep well, relax the mind, and then it will refresh you to be able to focus again when you sit behind a book. If you do not sleep well and you lose sleep, again when you are sitting and learning, you realize that it affects you. Your focus is affected, your mental faculties are affected, your body is affected, and so you are not able to assimilate or understand what you are learning learning very well, because sleep, it's very, very good for you around this particular time. Sleep well, but when it is time for learning, because you have had a very good sleep, you are able to focus well and your mind is relaxed. That is another trick that you have to know. Again, it's important that you have to know that exams comes with a certain stress on the mind. Now, for you to be able to de-stress your mind, for you to be able to reprogram your mind and refresh your mind so that your mind will not be telling you exams, 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 exams. When that happens, you begin to have this fear in you. It frightens you. And so if you are not very careful, understanding what you are learning becomes a problem, because your fear is inculcated in you and you are not able to focus very well. And okay, so now let's continue. So guys, another thing that you have to take notice of this, psychologically, when you are preparing for exams and you have done very good preparation, tune your mind off Apple. Now let me explain this to you again. If you are not very careful and say few hours to examination, you are chasing after Apple, you get it, memorize it, chew it, you enter the examination room and it doesn't drop, guys, you are dead. And that's the reason why. Now the mind becomes programmed in a way towards a certain direction, because you know that was what was coming. Now the very moment it doesn't drop and you want to reprogram your mind back to what you have learned earlier or early on, you realize that you begin to have a challenge. And that is why it is very, very important that anytime you are preparing for exams, yes, if you hear about people talking about questions, you can go have a look at it, but do not program your mind into thinking that this is what is coming. Because if it doesn't come, you enter the examination room, even remembering what you have learned earlier on becomes a problem, because psychologically your mind is tuned in a certain direction and you cannot reprogram it if you are not very careful. So you'll be sitting down, it's like, this thing, I have learned it, trying to remember, and it is not coming. If you're not very careful, I always say it will be disastrous. And so learn this. Anytime you know you are prepared for exams, don't be chasing and be running after Apple. If you hear people trying their hands on questions, you want to have a look at it and try and read about it and add it to your knowledge, fantastic. But when you tune your mind that this is what is coming and it doesn't come, guys, you are dead. Because psychologically, it will be difficult, almost impossible, to reprogram, redesign your mental faculty, your thinking, your mindset back to what you have learned earlier on before you got that Apple. So take your mind off Apple and focus on what you have learned. It is important that examination is said that you don't need to have 100% to have an A1. You don't need to. There have been times we have had 75, there have been times it's been 80, there have been times it's been 70. So all you do is that go into the exam room and go and do your best. Don't be thinking that I must get every single question correct. It's almost impossible. That is why you might likely spend a lot of time on questions, spend so much time on the questions, and because you think that I shouldn't get this wrong, I shouldn't get this wrong, I shouldn't get it wrong. You cannot have every question correct in the exam room. So what you do is that the little you are able to do, quickly move on, clear all, ensure that you have attempted all the questions, then you can. So don't focus your mind and your attention on Apple. If you do that, you will attest to this fact. And I recall that when we were writing physics, same thing happens. We heard that, well, the Apple has dropped and all of us were chasing after it. We went there, we took it, we memorized it, meditated on it, entered the exam room, and when we realized that not a single one dropped, and now all of us, and I was a very good student, trying to remember what I have learned earlier on then became a challenge. I simply couldn't understand, because I realized that these questions were very familiar questions. Why couldn't I remember it? At that point, I didn't understand, but later on, I got to know that my mind, my faculties, my thinking, everything has been programmed or tuned away. And so now remembering or reprogramming it became very, very difficult if you do not know how to do it. And so don't try it, especially few hours to exams. Don't try it. That's something that you will not want to do. Now, when you are on the morning of the paper, this is what you do. Relax. Ensure that you have taken something in. Don't be anxious when people are running and it's like this is life and death matter. For you, that is not how it is. Be relaxed. Be focused. Enter the exams room very confident, very calm. Don't be under pressure. Walk into the exam. The reason you are doing that is not because we are too sure. It's not because we are overly confident. It is because you do not want to put enormous pressure on the mind, so that when you enter the exams room, there's so much stress and pressure on the mind that remembering basic things becomes difficult. So calm down, relax the mind, let the exams run its course. Go over there, sit in a very calm manner, and then do your best. Now, the very moment you see somebody busily writing down questions, don't be thinking that the person is writing sense. No, if you do that, you also put another pressure on yourself. So you relax. Scan through the questions, look at your best bet. Which areas am I so confident I can tackle it within a few minutes, and tackle those ones first. And when you are done, now you can come back to those that are similarly challenging and go about it. And then those that are very difficult, you try them for the last. Now, if you don't and you go sit on one question which is difficult and very tricky, you waste your time on it, and especially after you have finished. If you realize that you are wrong, it will destabilize you and you will not be able to do the others. So I tackle the easier ones, deal with the medium type of questions before you go to the difficult ones. When you do this, you will realize that things will be very, very easy for you. This is one trick that you must not lose sight of. Very, very important. And then my last step will be this. Listen, when you finish a paper, you are done with it. Forget about people discussing answers and saying, well, this is the right question, this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer, this is the right answer. If you do that and you realize that you got something wrong, it will affect you psychologically, so that that's the subsequent papers that you have, it will affect you. So when you are done with it. Put it aside, focus on the next one. When you find people discussing the answers, this is the correct answer, how did you do this, how did you draw this, forget about that. You are done with that paper. You cannot do anything about it. You put it behind you, and now you focus on exactly the next paper which is ahead. It is very, very important. The reason let me repeat again, is that when you discuss answers after you are done with the paper and you realize that you got quite a number wrong, if you may likely do well in the next paper, but because of the negativity and the fact that this destabilizes you psychologically, you will not be able to do well in the other papers that you are going to. So forget about it when you are done, move on, focus on the next one, and you will be able to do well. Again, let me say this as I conclude this particular presentation. Listen, exams is not your last resort. There are people who may not necessarily succeed academically, but they still will become great in future. Don't be thinking this is a life and death matter. If you do that, you are likely to go and cheat in the exams room. You are likely to take a phone to the exams room. You are likely to try some funny things that eventually may lead to the cancellation of your paper. So calm down, relax, focus on what you have learned, go pour it, do your best, and leave the rest to God. And the God who has given you the understanding and prepared you will surely crown your effort with success. This is Sir Raph. If you have not subscribed to Sir Raph TV, kindly do so for more of these words that will encourage you, empower you, and make you a better person. Once again, we wish you all the best, and may you succeed enormously in your exams as you prepare and write your exams. Thank you very much.